Admiral Thaddeus Kane stood at the observation deck of Earth's Orbital Command, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as he gazed at the ancient fleet suspended in perpetual orbit. Hundreds of massive warships, dormant for over a century, their hulls bearing the scars of humanity's last great war. They were beautiful in their own way, silent sentinels of a past age. The emergency transmission that brought him here still echoed in his mind, a desperate plea from an unknown alien race, broadcast on all frequencies, breaking humanity's self-imposed isolation from galactic affairs. "This is Ambassador Renera of the Meridian Collective," the message had said, the translator struggling to convey the fear in the alien's voice. "Our civilization faces extinction. The Bravery Empire advances through our systems, consuming all in their path. We beg any who receive this message, help us." Kane's wrist computer chimed, displaying a holographic image of Fleet Commander Victoria Reyes. "Sir, the Council is ready for you." In the circular chamber of the World Security Council, Kane faced the stern faces of Earth's leadership. First Speaker Jameson, a tall woman with silver hair, spoke first. "Admiral Kane, you've called this emergency session. Explain why we should break 100 years of isolation." Kane activated the chamber's central hologram, displaying the Meridian transmission data. The Meridians are a peaceful species, advanced in sciences and arts. The Bravery Empire, their attackers, are expansionist conquerors who stripped conquered worlds of resources, leaving them uninhabitable. He paused, letting the implications sink in. "Our analysts predict that if the Meridians fall, the Bravery will eventually reach Earth. We can fight them now, alongside allies, or face them alone in 50 years. "Our fleet hasn't seen combat in a century," objected Counselor John. "Most ships are automated, requiring minimal crews. We'd be risking everything." "Which is why I've already chosen my flagship," Kane responded. "The Hyperion. She's old, but her AI core is fully functional. I selected key personnel to command other vessels. We can operate the fleet at 30% capacity." The chamber erupted in heated debate until First Speaker Jameson raised her hand for silence. "Show us the Meridian homeworld data." The hologram shifted to display a beautiful blue-green planet, its cities gleaming with crystalline architecture. Then came the tactical overlays, Bravery warships surrounding the system, methodically destroying outer colonies. "We have 72 hours before they breach the Meridian home system's defenses," Kane stated. "This is the moment that defines us. Do we remain in our safe bubble of isolation, or do we honor our ancestors' pledge to protect those who cannot protect themselves?" Hours later, Kane stood on the bridge of the Hyperion, watching as crews rushed to their stations. Beside him, his executive officer, Commander Diana Wells, coordinated the fleet's activation sequences. "Engineering reports all ships at 60% power and rising," she reported. "The old girls remember how to wake up." Kane allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to the Meridian ambassador. Tell her hope is coming." The Hyperion's AI, designation ARIA, spoke through the bridge speakers. "Admiral, fleet status reaching optimal levels. 87 ships ready for immediate deployment, awaiting your command." Kane took his command chair, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. "Signal all ships. Plot course for the Meridian home system. We jump in 1 hour." As the fleet prepared for faster-than-light travel, Kane received a private transmission from Ambassador Renera. The hologram showed a tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin and graceful features. "Admiral Kane," she spoke, her voice trembling with emotion. "When we sent our plea to the stars, we never dreamed Earth would answer. Your people are known in our histories, the species that chose solitude after bringing peace to their own world. Why risk everything for us?" Kane thought of the ancient texts that guided humanity's principles, of the lessons learned from their own bloody history. "Ambassador, a wise woman once said that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. We've done nothing for too long. The massive engines of Earth's fleet roared to life, breaking their century-long silence. As the ships aligned for the jump, Kane addressed his crew, and through them, all the ships in the fleet. For 100 years, we've watched the galaxy from afar. We've seen civilizations rise and fall, chosen not to interfere. Today, that changes. Today, we remember who we are, not just citizens of Earth, but guardians of those who cannot guard themselves. The Meridians asked for help. We will answer. The Hyperion's jump drive engaged, tearing a hole in space-time. Behind her, 86 warships followed, their synchronized jump signatures creating a spectacular light show visible from Earth's surface. Humanity had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Meridian home system blazed with weapons fire as the Bravery assault fleet pressed their advantage. Admiral Lyris of the Bravery Empire watched from his command ship, the Devastator, as another Meridian defense platform crumbled under concentrated fire. His mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Soon, this system's resources would feed the Empire's endless hunger. "My lord," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting spatial anomalies forming behind our lines." Before Lyris could respond, space itself tore open in 87 perfectly synchronized points. The Bravery Admiral's compound eyes widened as he recognized the distinctive silhouettes emerging from the ruptures. "Impossible," he whispered. "The Terran fleet." Aboard the Hyperion, Admiral Kane watched the tactical display with predatory focus. The Bravery had arranged their forces in a classic siege formation, all attention directed toward the Meridian defenses. Their rear was exposed. A critical mistake. "Aria, initiate combat protocol Sigma," Kane ordered. "Commander Wells, signal all ships to execute attack pattern Delta 7. The AI's response was immediate. Combat protocol Sigma activated. All weapon systems online. Targeting solutions computed. Earth's fleet moved with surgical precision, their century-old engines roaring with renewed purpose. The Bravery scrambled to reposition, but they were caught in the worst possible position. Trapped between the hammer of Earth's fleet and the anvil of Meridian defenses, Ambassador Renara, watching from the Meridian Command Center, gasped as she witnessed humanity's ancient warships in action. These weren't the crude siege engines the Bravery employed. Each human vessel moved like a dancer, their automated targeting systems delivering devastatingly precise strikes. "Status report," Kane demanded as the first wave of attacks concluded. 37 Bravery vessels destroyed. Commander Wells reported. "Minimal damage to our fleet. The Meridian defense grid is holding." But Admiral Lyris hadn't achieved his position through incompetence. The Bravery fleet was already adapting, forming into their infamous spine formation, a near-impenetrable wall of overlapping shields and firing arcs. "Clever," Kane muttered. "Aria, analyze their shield harmonics. Find me a weakness." As the AI worked, Kane opened a channel to the Meridian Command. "Ambassador, we need your help. Your people's scientific knowledge. Can you detect any vulnerabilities in their defensive formation?" Renara's response was immediate. "Our sensors indicate their shields operate on a quantum frequency matrix. Each ship reinforces the others." But she paused, her iridescent skin pulsing with inspiration. "The matrix has a resonance pattern. If we could match it." "Aria, coordinate with Meridian Control. Reconfigure our weapon frequencies to match their shield resonance." The battle evolved into a deadly dance. The Bravery formation held strong, but with each volley, the combined human Meridian forces probed their defenses, testing, learning. Kane watched the tactical display with growing concern. They were winning, but too slowly. The Bravery would have reinforcements coming. Then Commander Wells spotted something. "Admiral, look at their flagship's power signature. Every time we hit their shields with a matched frequency, they have to redistribute energy from their weapons." Kane's eyes lit up. "That's it. Aria, new tactical solution. Focus all fire on these coordinates. But I want 20% of our ships to target their weapons arrays the instant their shields fluctuate. The human fleet moved as one, centuries of automated battle protocols executing with machine precision. The Bravery formation held for 3 salvos. 4. Then their perfectly coordinated defense began to show cracks. Admiral Lyris, the Devastator's tactical officer, reported nervously, "We're losing cohesion. The humans, they've matched our shield frequencies." Lyris snarled, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Impossible. Their technology is ancient. How could they?" His words cut off as the deck beneath him shuddered violently. On the Hyperion's bridge, Kane allowed himself a grim smile. "Press the advantage. All ships, full assault. Don't let them regroup." The battle reached its crescendo. Human warships struck from multiple vectors, their weapons now tuned to the exact frequency needed to disrupt the Bravery shields. Meridian defenders, coordinating through Aria's tactical network, timed their attacks perfectly with the humans' assault. The Bravery formation shattered. Ships began breaking away, trying to retreat, but the combined fleet had positioned themselves perfectly. There would be no escape. Admiral Lyris watched his tactical display dissolve into chaos. All ships, emergency jump. Retreat to rally point Omega. But as the surviving Bravery vessels attempted to flee, they discovered another surprise. The humans had seeded their retreat vectors with gravitational mines, ancient weapons that turned the very fabric of space against them. In the end, the Battle of Meridian lasted less than 6 hours. The Bravery fleet, pride of the Empire, lay in ruins. Admiral Lyris's flagship, the Devastator, drifted powerless, its crew surrendering to the approaching human vessels. On the Hyperion's bridge, Kane received damage reports with growing relief. They had lost only 3 ships, their automated systems, and ancient but superior technology, proving more than a match for the Bravery's brute force approach. Signal from Meridian Command. Commander Wells announced, "Ambassador Renera requests permission to come aboard." "Granted," Kane replied, straightening his uniform. "And Commander, tell engineering to make our reception area presentable. We're about to have our first official diplomatic meeting in a century." As he waited for the ambassador's arrival, Kane reflected on how quickly everything had changed. In less than a day, humanity had not only returned to the galactic stage, they had announced their return with a victory that would reshape the balance of power. But as he watched the Meridian shuttle approach, he knew this was only the beginning. The Bravery Empire would not take this defeat lightly, and humanity had just painted a very large target on itself. The real war was just beginning. The celebration in Meridian's crystal-spired capital lasted 3 days. Their civilization, which had stood on the brink of extinction, now had hope. But in the secure command center beneath the city's heart, Admiral Kane and Ambassador Renera faced the harsh reality of their situation. The Bravery Empire controls 17 systems, Renera explained, her crystalline display showing a map of known space. "What we defeated was merely their forward fleet. They will return, and in greater numbers." Kane studied the tactical projections with growing concern. The captured Bravery Admiral, Lyris, had revealed under questioning that the Empire was mobilizing its entire armada. The next attack would come with 10 times the forces they had just defeated. "We have 4 weeks at most," Kane stated, his voice grave. "We need to strike first, but more importantly, we need allies." He turned to Commander Wells, who had been analyzing diplomatic channels. "What about the Arcturus Confederation?" Wells shook her head. "They're refusing all communications. The Bravery have them terrified." A new voice joined the conversation. Professor Raven Ward, Earth's foremost xenotechnologist, recently arrived to study Meridian technology. "Perhaps we're approaching this wrong," she said, her dark eyes intense. "The Bravery's strength isn't just their numbers. It's their quantum-linked shield technology. But every quantum system has an observer effect." Kane watched as Ward pulled up analysis of the recent battle. During the fight, We discovered their shields operate on a resonant frequency. What if we could disrupt that resonance across their entire fleet simultaneously? You're talking about a quantum cascade failure. Rhaenyra breathed, her iridescent skin pulsing with excitement. But the energy requirements would be astronomical. Unless, Ward smiled, we use their own network against them. Every Bravery ship is quantum-linked. If we could insert a disruption signal into their command and control. The plan that emerged was audacious to the point of insanity. They would need to capture a Bravery command hub, a heavily defended space station that coordinated fleet movements. From there, they could upload a virus into the quantum network that synchronized their shields. Kane dispatched scouts to the nearest Bravery command hub, designated Target Shadow. The reports they returned were sobering. The station bristled with defenses, protected by a fleet twice the size of what they'd faced at Meridian. We'll need a diversion, Kane decided. Something big enough to draw their main fleet away from the station. He turned to Rhaenyra. How quickly can your scientists adapt our ship's jump drives to generate a false signal? The answer was 3 days. 3 days of frantic work as Meridian scientists and human engineers modified the drives of 3 volunteer ships to create the signature of a full invasion fleet. The night before the operation, Kane found Professor Ward in the Hyperion's observation deck, staring at the distant stars. Having doubts, he asked. She shook her head. The math is solid. The virus will work. The casualties will be catastrophic. When their shields fail, thousands will die instantly. The alternative is worse, Kane replied softly. The Bravery don't leave survivors. Every world they take becomes a dead rock. The next morning, Operation Shadowfall began. 3 human ships jumped into the Bravery's home system, their modified drives creating sensor ghosts that made them appear to be a fleet of hundreds. The response was immediate and massive. Nearly every ship around the command hub moved to intercept the perceived threat. Kane waited until the defensive fleet was committed, then sprang the trap. The Hyperion led the real attack force, just 5 ships, running silent with minimal power signatures. They approached the station from its blind spot, using its own bulk to mask their approach from the few remaining defenders. The boarding action was swift and brutal. Human Marines, their combat suits enhanced with Meridian technology, breached the station's outer hull. Professor Ward accompanied them, protected by a squad of veterans, carrying the quantum virus in a specially shielded case. But the Bravery commander was no fool. The instant he realized his station was under attack, he began transmitting warning signals to the main fleet. They had minutes, perhaps less, before reinforcements arrived. In the central control room, Ward worked frantically to upload the virus while Marines held off waves of Bravery defenders. The station's commander, a massive specimen named Vexithor, led the counterattack personally. The upload is at 60%, Ward reported, her fingers flying over the alien controls. We need 3 more minutes. They didn't have 3 minutes. The first reinforcements were already arriving, their weapons turning the void around the station into a killing field. The Hyperion and her escorts were taking heavy damage. That's when Commander Wells made her decision. Without warning, she took the Hyperion into a suicide run at the arriving fleet. Get that virus uploaded. Her final transmission crackled. Make it count. The Hyperion's sacrifice bought them precious seconds. Ward completed the upload just as Vexthor's forces breached the final defense line. The station's lights flickered as the virus took hold, spreading through the quantum network like wildfire. Across Bravery space, ship after ship suddenly lost shield cohesion. Some managed to shut down their systems in time. Most didn't. The casualty reports would later estimate over 40% of the Bravery fleet was destroyed or crippled in that single moment. But the victory came at a terrible price. The Hyperion was lost with all hands. 3 of the 5 attack ships were destroyed. And as Kane watched the rescue shuttles retrieve the surviving Marines from the station, he knew that the war had entered a new phase. The Bravery would never forgive this humiliation. They would come for Earth next. In the aftermath, As the combined fleet regrouped at Meridian, Kane stood again in the observation deck where he had spoken with Professor Ward. The stars seemed colder now, each one potentially hiding the remnants of the Bravery fleet, building for revenge. But they had struck a mighty blow, and more importantly, they had shown the galaxy that the Bravery weren't invincible. Already, word was spreading. The Arcturus Confederation had reopened diplomatic channels. Other races, long cowed by Bravery might, began to whisper of resistance. The real war was about to begin. But now they had a fighting chance. The war room aboard the New Earth flagship Prometheus hummed with tension as Admiral Kane studied the intelligence reports. 3 months had passed since Operation Shadowfall, and the landscape of galactic politics had shifted dramatically. The Arcturus Confederation had formally allied with Earth and Meridian, bringing their advanced stealth technology to the coalition. But the Bravery were far from defeated. Professor Ward's hologram flickered as she delivered her analysis. The Bravery have adapted. They've completely restructured their quantum shield network, making it impossible to replicate our previous strategy. But there's something else. She paused, her expression troubled. They're building something in the Helios sector, something massive. Tactical displays showed a massive construction project hidden within a dense asteroid field. Energy readings were off the charts, suggesting a weapon of unprecedented scale. But the coalition's attempts to penetrate the Bravery's renewed defenses had proven costly. They're calling it the World Breaker, Ambassador Renera said softly. Our deep cover agents confirm it's designed to tear planets apart at the molecular level. Once completed, they'll use it on Earth or Meridian as revenge for Shadowfall. Kane turned to his new executive officer, Commander Julian Rhodes, who had served under Wells on the Hyperion. Options. A direct assault would be suicide, Rhodes replied. But there might be another way. He gestured to a Meridian scientist, Dr. Venna, who had been working on an experimental project. Venna stepped forward, her crystalline skin refracting the room's light. We've been studying the quantum properties of Bravery technology. Their shields, their weapons, everything operates on quantum principles. We believe we can use this against them. The plan she outlined was revolutionary. By combining Meridian quantum physics with Arcturus stealth systems, they could create a small strike team capable of phasing through solid matter. They would infiltrate the World Breaker facility and destroy it from within. The catch, Venna explained, is that the phase shift can only be maintained for 6 hours. After that, any organic matter within solid objects will. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Kane looked around the room. I need volunteers. This is strictly. I'm in, Professor Ward interrupted. You'll need someone who understands their quantum tech. Rhodes stepped forward. The Hyperion's crew didn't die for us to back down now. I volunteer. In the end, they assembled a team of 12. 4 humans, 4 Meridians, and 4 Arcturians. The following weeks were spent in grueling training as they learned to operate in quantum-shifted state. The sensation, the volunteers reported, was like existing in multiple realities simultaneously. The mission launched under absolute secrecy. The Prometheus led a diversionary attack on a Bravery supply line, while the strike team's ship, cloaked with Arcturus technology, slipped through enemy lines. Inside the World Breaker facility, the quantum-shifted team moved like ghosts through walls and security barriers. But they quickly discovered the project was further along than intelligence had suggested. The weapon was nearly operational. We need to split up, Rhodes commanded. Team 1, plant charges in the power core. Team 2, with me to the control center. Team 3, stay mobile and be ready to extract us. Professor Ward, working with a Meridian engineer named Lyra, began sabotaging the weapon's quantum matrices while Rhodes's team engaged the facility's security systems. The Bravery, unable to detect the phase-shifted intruders directly, responded with wide-spectrum energy fields that made maintaining the quantum state increasingly difficult. 4 hours into the mission, everything went wrong. A power surge in the facility's core interfered with the phase technology. Team 3, caught half-materialized in a solid wall, was lost instantly. Ward and Lyra found themselves trapped in the engineering section as bravery forces converged on their position. The quantum cascade is starting to destabilize, Ward reported over the comm. If it goes critical, it'll take out half the sector. She paused, then continued more softly. Commander, we need to stay and contain it. Get everyone else out. Rhodes, fighting through waves of security forces with his remaining team, knew she was right. Professor, Raven, it's been an honor. In the control center, as Ward and Lyra worked to prevent a catastrophic overload, Rhodes's team uploaded a virus that would render the facility's research unusable. But time was running out. The phase shift was failing. The remaining team members fought their way to the extraction point, their ability to pass through solid matter flickering unpredictably. Behind them, Ward and Lyra initiated a controlled quantum collapse that would destroy the world breaker while containing the worst of the explosion. The strike team's ship barely cleared the blast radius as the facility imploded. The world breaker project, and the threat it represented, had been eliminated, but the cost had been steep. Aboard the Prometheus, Kane received the mission report with a heavy heart. They had struck another crucial blow against the bravery. But the loss of Ward, Lyra, and the others weighed heavily. Yet their sacrifice had revealed something unexpected. Recovered data showed the bravery empire was far more fragile than anyone had suspected. The quantum technology they relied on so heavily was burning through resources at an unsustainable rate. The world breaker had been their last, desperate attempt to maintain dominance. Now, with its destruction and the loss of their research, cracks were beginning to show in their imperial facade. As Kane prepared to address the Coalition Council, he realized the war was entering its final phase. The bravery would make one last, massive push. But for the first time, he could see a path to victory. The question was, would the Coalition survive what was coming? The end began in the crimson skies above Earth. The bravery, driven to desperation by their collapsing empire, had committed their entire remaining fleet to one final massive assault on humanity's homeworld. Their strategy was simple. If they couldn't rule the galaxy, they would ensure Earth's destruction as their final legacy. Admiral Kane stood on the Prometheus's bridge, watching as the largest fleet ever assembled in known space took formation around Earth. The Coalition's forces, human, Meridian, and Arcturian ships flying together, represented the last line of defense for not just Earth, but the principle of unity itself. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Commander Rhodes reported, his voice steady despite the tension. Bravery fleet emerging from hyperspace. Initial count suggests over 2,000 vessels. The bravery emergence was a terrifying spectacle. Their ships, burning through the last of their quantum resources, literally tore holes in reality to reach Earth. At their head was the new bravery flagship, the Annihilator, nearly twice the size of any vessel ever encountered. Supreme Warlord Vexthor, promoted after surviving the World Breaker's destruction, broadcast on all frequencies. "You thought you could break us," his voice thundered. "Now witness the price of defiance." Kane opened a channel to all Coalition ships. "This is the moment that defines not just humanity, but all our peoples. We stand together, or we fall alone. All ships, battle formations. Initiate Operation Starfire." Operation Starfire was the Coalition's final gambit. During the months following the World Breaker's destruction, Meridian scientists had made a breakthrough. The bravery's quantum technology didn't just consume resources, it consumed space-time itself. Each use created microscopic tears in reality. The Coalition fleet divided into three wings. The Arcturians, masters of stealth, would strike at the bravery's flanks. The Meridians would engage their center, using their advanced shields to absorb the initial assault. And humanity's ships, led by the Prometheus, would drive straight for the Annihilator. The battle erupted with unprecedented fury. Energy weapons and quantum torpedoes crisscrossed the void, turning near-Earth space into a graveyard of shattered ships. The Arcturians struck like phantoms, their cloaked vessels appearing just long enough to deliver devastating blows before vanishing again. But the Bravery numbers were overwhelming. One by one, coalition ships fell. The Meridian line began to buckle under the onslaught. Kane watched as familiar vessel signatures winked out on his tactical display, each representing dozens or hundreds of lives. Then Commander Rhodes spotted something. "Sir, look at their quantum signatures. They're becoming unstable." Kane studied the data. The Bravery were burning through their quantum resources too quickly, creating a cascading network of space-time distortions. Each weapon's discharge, each shield impact, widened the tiers. "All ships," Kane ordered, "concentrate fire on these coordinates. Push them to overuse their quantum systems." The coalition fleet adjusted its strategy, deliberately provoking the Bravery into massive energy expenditures. The space around the battle began to warp and twist as reality itself protested the quantum abuse. Aboard the Annihilator, Vexthor realized too late what was happening. "Cease quantum operations," he commanded, but the order came too late. The tiers in spacetime had reached critical mass. The void itself seemed to shudder. Ships caught in the distortions began to twist and break apart as multiple realities tried to occupy the same space. The Bravery fleet, so dependent on quantum technology, was caught in a trap of its own making. "All coalition ships, fall back to minimum safe distance," Kane commanded. "Let them destroy themselves." The Annihilator, desperate to escape, fired its quantum drives at maximum power. The massive energy discharge was the final strain reality could take. Space itself fractured around the Bravery flagship, creating a quantum singularity that began drawing in the surrounding ships. Vexthor's final transmission was cut short as the Annihilator was torn apart by forces beyond mortal comprehension. The remaining Bravery ships, their quantum systems failing catastrophically, were either destroyed by the singularity or flowed in terror. The Battle of Earth lasted less than 6 hours. When the quantum distortions finally settled, nearly the entire Bravery fleet had been destroyed or captured. Their empire, built on stolen technology they never truly understood, collapsed within weeks. In the aftermath, Kane stood in the Prometheus's observation deck, watching Earth rotate peacefully below. Ambassador Rhaenyra and the Arcturian High Commander joined him. "The Coalition Council is convening," Rhaenyra said. "They're discussing the formation of a permanent alliance, a galactic concordat, to ensure nothing like the Bravery Empire can rise again." Kane nodded. "Humanity isolated itself once, thinking we could avoid the galaxy's problems. We were wrong. The stars are our shared legacy. All of us, every species, we have to face what's out there together." The price had been steep. The names of the fallen, Wells, Ward, and countless others, would be remembered in monuments on a dozen worlds. But they had purchased something precious, a future where different species could work together, using their strengths to overcome their weaknesses. As reconstruction began, ships of all three species worked together to clean up the debris field around Earth. It was a symbolic gesture, but an important one. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other civilizations watched and wondered about the alliance that had broken an empire, some with fear, others with hope, but all knowing that the galaxy would never be the same. For humanity had not just saved itself, it had helped forge a new way forward for all spacefaring peoples. The legacy of the lost fleet would echo through the stars for generations to come.